So before we continue with the video, I want to talk to you guys about where I got this shirt from, and you probably guessed it, jerseyfifa.com. They have kindly sponsored today's video and also sent me a load of free shirts for me to check out myself, and I can now really vouch for the quality of these products. They have loads of shirts to offer on the website, so if you are interested, head to the link in the description down below and check out Jersey FIFA for yourself. Hey guys, welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel, where today we are back with yet another Manchester United match coverage video. Today, a bit of a frustrating one, a bit of a disappointing one, a bit of an underwhelming one, and one which certainly didn't go to plan, and one which has got headlines for all the wrong reasons. I'm looking at this Mr. Referee here. But today we're going to talk about kind of how Ten Hag set the team up, some of the players that played well, didn't play so well, and of course discuss the tactics, and also just some discussion in general on some of the kind of big calls, the big moments during the game. However, we will start with kind of that first half hour where the game looked like a normal football match. And we'll start with Manchester United from a defensive point of view, because I thought they started the game pretty decent defensively. Now what we saw was the front three using a slightly different press to what we've seen recently, and it made Manchester United much more secure. As usual, the midfield was man for man, with Sancho, Bruno Fernandes and Casemiro all going man for man. We then had the wingers and of course matching fullbacks here. But what we saw from Marcus Rashford and Antony was that rather than one of them pressuring the centre-back, we saw them both wide on the fullbacks, with Weghorst's role solely to force the centre-backs to play one way. Let's say they go to Bednarek, and then Weghorst has got to follow him. Or it might be Bella-Kotchap, and as he's going to step forward with the ball, because this pass has been kind of removed out of the equation, Weghorst is going to follow him into these areas. And in his spell, first half hour, I thought Manchester United defended really well. Southampton had nothing going forward. You know, even in these areas, Manchester United have the spare man. So if Alcaraz for Southampton pushed forward into a front two, then Martinez and Varane were man for man and Casemiro was spare. Or if Alcaraz was deeper, then Lisandro Martinez was spare. And Manchester United started the game really good from a defensive point of view and looked quite comfortable. As well as defending pretty well in these early exchanges, Manchester United also looked as though they could create some chances or opportunities on the ball. However, it wasn't easy, because as we expected, Southampton were pressing quite high in a 4-4-2 or a 4-2-2, again whatever you want to call it. They're looking to press nice and high up the pitch to reduce the space available for Manchester United. And as I so often go on about, Manchester United struggle with these situations because they don't have press-resistant players. However, they do have one, and that is Lisandro Martinez, and I thought, again, his dribbling, his ability on the ball in this game was just ridiculous. The way that he cuts and chops past opposition forwards is like a winger. He's one of the most technically gifted players on the planet. Not just defenders, just players in general. He is one of the most technically gifted. He's absolutely brilliant with the ball at his feet, and is so valuable to Manchester United and what they're trying to do at the moment. But he wasn't the only player that was doing well in these areas, because what we also saw was Bruno Fernandes pulling really wide. Now this was something that I discussed in my tactical preview, that Manchester United should do. And one of the reasons was because if Ward-Prowse gets dragged out, it creates room in the middle, which we saw on a couple of occasions. However, we didn't actually see it as much as I thought we were going to, because Ward-Prowse held more of a central position. He kind of didn't get dragged by this run. However, what it then means is that Theo Walcott can't go and press, so Luke Shaw can have time on the ball. And now we've got Luke Shaw and Bruno Fernandes in this 2 versus 1 up against Theo Walcott. Bruno Fernandes was able to get the ball, and now Manchester United are in a really good position. With Bruno Fernandes kind of in this half space here, we could see the same on the other side of the pitch as well with Jadon Sancho. Time and time again in that first 30 minutes, Manchester United were in these positions. The problem from here was just pure lack of quality on the ball, basically. From a coaching point of view, Erik Ten Hag has got the players into a pretty good position where, you know, Manchester United are good in these transitions. They've turned a situation where they're being pressed into their own attacking situation. The quality on the ball just wasn't there. And I thought that this game kind of showed the good and the bad of Bruno Fernandes. The bad being on the ball, far too rushed, making poor decisions, looking to kind of play the killer pass every single time, which isn't ideal. But also we saw him play as the 6 at one point, we saw him play as the 8. Recently we've seen him play left wing, we've seen him play right wing, we've seen him play as the 10. So you got to give him some, cut him some slack really. Because yes, the performance wasn't great, but he's being asked to play so many different positions at the moment. He doesn't kind of moan about being asked to play in these areas. Wherever Ten Hag asks him to play, he plays that position, he puts in a really good shift. The performance weren't great, but it is hard to perform when you're so fatigued. So I thought the first half hour was alright for Manchester United defensively. They're doing pretty well. On the ball, they were getting into good opportunities. And I was sitting there saying, you know, if they sharpen up on the ball, Manchester United will score goals here. And, you know, probably go on to win the game. However, then we have this big moment, the red card. Thoughts on it? For me, it is a red card. I think people are arguing it because he gets the ball. It's unlucky, don't get me wrong. but I think it's a red card. Now, the reason it's unlucky is because the opposing player puts force on the ball. Now, typically, if you watch the challenge back, in that sort of situation, the opposition player kind of pulls out of it a little bit. And what that means is that Casemiro goes through the ball and goes with the ball and plays through, and would get the ball and not the man. However, the Southampton player actually went into the challenge as well, but that opposing force on the ball meant that rather than going through the ball, Casemiro now bounced off the ball and kind of went up and over. He does then go into the shin, so therefore you can kind of argue it's out of control. It is a little bit high, it is a little bit dangerous. It's unintentional, but I think it is a red card. However, what then happens in the next 10 minutes or so from the referee is... I'm running out of words to describe the refereeing performances this season. First of all, the tackle on Bruno Fernandes. I think Kyle Walker-Peters, he does get the ball. However, he certainly gets Bruno Fernandes first. I think everyone who has eyes could see that. He gets Bruno Fernandes and then he gets the ball. So is that a penalty? Let me know what you think. The one on Rashford, at first glance, I didn't think was a penalty. However, when you put it in slow-mo, like they did for Casemiro, so surely we should for all big decisions, he does catch Marcus Rashford. Marcus Rashford going around the keeper, he does catch him. His knee catches his trailing foot. Do you think it's a penalty? I think it could be given. I think we've seen him given before, so that's the case for the first two. Kind of not blatant, but certainly seen him given. But then the handball is just so what? It's blatantly handball. You know, you can't just crawl on all fours in the box and hit it away with your arm. That's kind of not the rule. So it really wasn't very good from the referee, and I understand why these Manchester United players were frustrated, because they're now down to 10 men, you know, which is very, very difficult in the best of situations. It's very difficult to play with 10 men in the Premier League. But also, they've been denied one blatant penalty and two, you know, very debatable penalties. They genuinely could have potentially on another day had 3 penalties. All 3 situations I've seen them given this season, but I think that's the biggest problem, right? Inconsistencies. Even the red card, Casemiro. We saw a challenge on João Felix this weekend. We saw a challenge from Dan Burn this weekend, which are very similar and they go unpunished. So I think it is a red card, but, you know, some consistency would be nice. As for the penalty appeals, the handball one is a joke. It's quite blatantly a penalty. The other two are debatable. We've seen them given. But obviously that's going to put Manchester United in such a difficult situation. And, you know, Ten Hag made the decision at half-time to kind of shore his team up a little bit and sit off. Manchester United couldn't then press as high because, you know, you're playing with 10. It's very difficult to high press with 10 men on the pitch. So I thought, actually, that was a good decision from Ten Hag. Recently, we've seen a slight naivety from the team at times. However, I thought this was smarter. Kind of, not damage the limitation, but, you know, accepting that they can't push quite as high forward. Of course, Weghorst came off for McTominay, who I'll put in a second. And obviously, Casemiro set off as well. With these changes, Manchester United were now playing in a 4-4-1 with initially Sancho as the furthest man forward with Rashford out wide. And Manchester United, like I said, have no opportunity now to go press the ball. So Southampton can walk the ball forward for certainly the first third, even the first half of the pitch. Really easy ball progression for Southampton. Like I said, Manchester United simply can't go man for man on the press. What they will do though is go man for man everywhere else. They're not going to press super high. However, defensively, they are going to go man for man. And I think this is where Manchester United have done really well. Luke Shaw on Walcott, Wan-Bissaka on the winger here, Rashford, Track and Walker-Peters, although he did struggle a little bit, Anthony on Pero, McTominay on Lavia, Fernandes on Ward-Prowse. They're kind of matching up everywhere, and the important thing here was for Manchester United to win their individual battles, and ultimately I think they did that. Eventually we saw Sancho move to the left-hand side and Rashford going up front, with Sancho being a bit better defensively than what Rashford is, and that kind of nullified the threat of Walker-Peters, who was pushing further and further forward. We had Pero doing the same on this side. It's just really difficult for Manchester United from this point onwards, from a tactical point of view or an analytical point of view. There's not too much to talk about. They're kind of man to man all over the pitch, with Rashford again splitting the centre backs. But Manchester United can't do much. They can't press high, but what can they do really? I think Southampton could have been braver on the ball. I think at times if Southampton had kind of dropped one of their strikers into the midfield a bit more, they could have asked real questions of Manchester United. Southampton kind of showed a lack of confidence. I think the game was there for them. But in general, Manchester United still defended really, really well. I thought Varane and Lisandro Martinez in particular, remarkable. Lisandro Martinez especially was world-class, elite performance. This was really top level. If you want to watch what a modern centre-back should do, watch Lisandro Martinez's performance in this game. Like, genuinely go back and watch it. It was remarkable. And any time the defence was breached, which was very, very rare, I thought De Gea had a good game and goal as well. As a result of this good defending, there were situations when Manchester United got the ball. And, you know, again, with the positions, with Southampton pushing quite high, there was the potential to counter-attack. But
It was a game where we saw just a genuine lack of quality. I was talking about Bruno Fernandes earlier, and it continued in the second half. It was just every time he got the ball, he tried to ping it forward first time. At times, you need to kind of take the extra touch, slow it down a bit, let your team breathe. Especially with 10 men, we didn't really see that. Manchester United just lacked quality, but I think what we need to really reinforce it, because, you know, I've seen people being quite critical. Rashford has received criticism, Bruno Fernandes, and I understand that because they didn't play well. But when you're down to 10 men, you have to cover the ground between you of a whole player being missing. In a league as intense as the Premier League, in a fixture schedule as intense as what Manchester United have had recently, it's very difficult to perform and execute technically when you are so fatigued. So, yes, Bruno Fernandes should have been better with his passing, Sancho could have been better with his dribbling, Marcus Rashford, whatever. These players, you know, around the 70th minute, they would have been shattered. Because this was a really, really difficult game. Mentally, physically, this was a big shift from Manchester United. So, I think we should cut the players a little bit of slack. The performance wasn't great, but I think with 11 men, Manchester United would have won this game comfortably. I genuinely do believe that with the positions we saw them in. But, you know, like I said, when they're that fatigued, it is difficult to execute. It really is. So, all in all, it's just a really kind of underwhelming, disappointing, frustrating day for Manchester United. You know, the potential was there to get the win and kind of pull into a comfortable position. They would have been 10 points clear of Liverpool. They could have put themselves in a really good spot heading towards the international break. Instead, you know, the referee played really well for Southampton, got Southampton a good result. Manchester United kind of just have to deal with it. It's just the state of the Premier League at the moment that the referees are at this level. So there's not much more you can say than that. So that's all I have to say for today's video. Let me know what you think though in the comments down below. Who disappointed you? Who impressed you? What did you think of Southampton? I thought they were okay, but could have been a bit braver. What did you think of the big decisions? I'm sure you will all have your opinions, so let me know in the comment section down below. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed the video, and as always, I will see you in the next one.